This is not the kind of news you want to get. The dock manager, the port manager, just stopped by. He's alerting all the boats. There was a 8.7 earthquake up in Alaska in the Aleutian Islands, and a tsunami potentially is headed this way. It's about 1 o'clock here in the afternoon, 2 o'clock, somewhere in there, and said if it hits here, it's going to come around early evening. So we're going to be on alert. They do have a tsunami warning system here. It's a big siren, and it goes off, and it says usually about 20 to 30 minutes before it would hit. And he gave us two options. One, he says we could run for the hills, which are right there. We could get up above any possible danger point pretty quick. Or if we want to try to save the boat, we unhook, we go out into the bay, find a deep spot out there, and try to ride the wave. And he says the last one that they did, that people were pretty successful with that. This is a pretty protected harbor. So we'll have to wait and see. You know, I've been through some major storms, but this is the first. So keep you updated on what's going on. Well, I hope that message from the port master came through. But basically, the travel or the tsunami warning or the advisory is coming, and we've heard that it's going to be about 3 feet. So it shouldn't be too bad. But we're on a concrete dock, so we have moved off the dock. We're heading out of the port. We're gonna go into deep water and just float around all night out there. It's now, what time is it? It's almost 7. So I said in 3 hours is when the tsunami's supposed to hit. So we wanted to get out of this port in plenty of time before there's a mad rush. Because I think we've had one catamaran already leave. I think the other ones are going to go too. So it's always better to be safe than sorry. We'll get to at least, a couple thousand feet of water underneath us, and we shouldn't feel a thing. Keep you updated. Well, we've been out here about 3.5, almost 4 hours now. The tsunami has passed. We got word from the Port Authority that it was a minor event. But they did have some swell come in, small wall of water came in. A lot of water rushed out, but from what they said, it was a minor event. We don't know if there's any damage or if anybody even felt anything. But 4 of us came out, so we now are sitting out here, and I don't know if you can tell the way I'm moving around, but it's pretty rough out here. Our plan was to stay out here all night because we didn't want to go back into port and dock on that concrete dock at night. But it's so rough out here. I don't know how Cindy's sleeping, but she is. It's so rough out here that when she gets up here in a half hour, I'm gonna talk to her to see what she thinks. If she thinks she can hop off the boat and handle the lines. If she thinks she can, we're gonna go in and we're gonna redock. We can't anchor. We've got a problem that our windlass is down. So we can't go into the harbor where it's calm and anchor. So it's either stay out here for another at least 7.5 hours or see about docking. So keep you updated, let you know what she thinks once she gets up here. Bye. Well, we've been out here for about 4 hours now. Tsunami is actually finally hit, and Cindy's gotten some information from friends of ours that stayed in the harbor. Cindy, what are they saying?
They're saying at 11:15, we were expecting the tsunami at 10, but at 11:15 they're wondering what's going on at the tuna factory. Sirens have been going off for 10 minutes, lots of emergency vehicles. Of course, they're trying to evacuate 1,000 people at the tuna factory. Lots of bells and whistles, wondering if it's a late announcement. The water in the bay's rising. The customs docks, that's where we're docked, the water is up over the dock, flooding over, and they actually cannot see the dock at this time. And they're watching, well, the one catamaran that stayed on the dock, she stays there all the time. They're watching that very closely to see what's going to happen with it. Sirens still have not stopped at 11:20. The water just dropped 4 feet. Now it's up at 11:25. It's up 9 feet. And then it dropped 7 feet at 11:29. It's back up 9 feet, and the water is rushing over onto land, and the river, going up over into the river. The folks that are anchored are now doing 360s, and they're just grateful that there's no wind and rain. So that's the water swirling, going in and out of the bay. And now they just went up 10 feet. So at 11:37, they reported they were now up 10 feet. And at 11:42, they're going back to normal. But it looks like it's still going on. Another message is coming in now. I know 2 of the catamarans that went out with us just asked port authorities if they could go back in. They wanted to get in by midnight. And I don't know. I don't think it's quite safe yet, but we'll see. We'll monitor the radio to see what they have to say about them going back in. So that's our quick update.
So here we were thinking, it's pretty rough out here, that we would go back in once the event was over. But I don't know if there's no dock to be seen, we can't go to the dock, and our windlass is not working, so we can't drop an anchor. So looks like we might be out here for the night, unless we hear later on that things have calmed down in there. But we're still riding it out, and it's, she was giving you times. It's 11:52 our time right now. So
and the dock is flooded again.
Oh, now she just said that somebody said the dock is underwater again. So I think we're staying out here. We've decided to be safe. Let's continue to be so. Keep you updated. Well, good morning. It's been a long night. It's about 6 o'clock. We're waiting for sunrise to go back into the harbor. It's they closed the harbor for a little while. In fact, there's a tanker sitting out there waiting for it to open up too. But you can see too that it's gotten a lot calmer. Once that tsunami passed, I guess it cleared out the waves. But we're just waiting around, give you a better update. But once we get in what happened, show you the marina or show you the harbor. But glad to have made it through the night. Been kind of an experience. Not one I want to repeat though. Well, this guy certainly decided to get close to us. I'm just out here floating, he's coming right at me. That's why you gotta stay on watch. Definitely too close for my comfort. But I guess that means the port's open. Hope you can see that. This is what they were talking about. They got stuff, drums floating in the water. We got a couple in front of us here too. Oop. There's another one floating there. Yeah, I would say that could be a hazard. I'm glad we waited for sunlight before trying to get through here. Well, we got so much traffic coming in here. Got a tanker and a tug. I'm definitely glad we waited. In order for all 5 of us to fit, they need to move back. I don't know why they didn't set this up when they came back last night. I don't want to be on the end here, so we got to leave enough room for the 50-footer to go there. So we all got to move back. In fact, the one behind him has to move back too. Should have been a lot easier if they'd done this last night. Here is some of the aftermath of the tsunami. You can see normally the water does not come over the top of the dock. You can see how high it went last night. So it went 4 feet above the dock yesterday. I'm really glad we moved. So we're here and we raced them in to make sure we didn't go there. Time for bed. There's what the tsunami brought down from the hills. Another reason I'm glad we didn't come in last night. Our friends that decided to stay in the bay had some interesting observations that they could see the wall of water coming up on them. And what they ended up doing is that they just kind of bounced up and down, and as the water came in, it turned the boat one way. As the water came back out, it turned them around. So they said that we're doing 360s for about an hour, just watching the waves coming in and out and watching the dock over here just disappear and then reappear. And it says happened at least 4 times, so it was pretty eventful for them, but they were never really scared. It says it was weird hearing all the sirens going off and seeing all the EMS going up and down the road, and as waves came in, the EMS they started to run because it went over the top of some of the seawalls. So quite the experience, and they tell us they're glad they saw it, but they never want to do it again. So let me tell you about what happened with Sonia. All right, well, the tsunami's all over. We got back in yesterday and we slept really well. We took like a 5-hour nap. We're up for about 5 hours, and it took 8-hour rest. That's what happens when you only get like an hour of sleep the night before. I wanted to give you a little overview on what happened. We talked to a young lady named Sonia. I'll show you her boat in a minute, but she was telling us she stayed on the dock. She was telling us that it was quite an eventful evening. First up is that the sirens went off. Now they expected about 9:15, and nothing happened. But 10 o'clock, like I said, the sirens came up, and at that point they had a lot of EMS out on the roads and stuff. And at that point she just looked down the dock, and as she's looking down at the end there, she didn't see a wave, she saw a wall. And first the water went down. The water was high tide, so it was really close to the top of this yellow wall here, about 8 inches below the top. And all of a sudden the water rushed out and it dropped about 4 feet. And after that, she could literally, this is at 10 at night, now this is lit up a little bit, but she could see a wave of water, not a wall of water coming. And it went above this dock, came right over that edge, and she said it came up to about her waist. And it just moved slowly down the dock here. And we'll get down there, I'll show you what she said happened down here. Okay, so behind me there, that's Sonia's catamaran. Now, she said she could see the wall of water coming towards her. And when it got to her, she's standing on the edge here. Right there. She's standing there, and her boat raised up. And in fact, she said it floated up so high, it actually started floating onto the dock. So she's standing in waist deep water, holding her boat in the ocean so it didn't, get dry docked when the water went out. So she was sitting there holding it, pushing it off, making sure she didn't lose her boat to the dock. And says it wasn't coming in really hard, it was just coming in and Once it got there, it just stayed. So she's holding the boat off, and she turns around, and you see these things right here? She said they were floating. I mean, these trash cans are heavy. And that the water, she said, came all the way up to the blue line. So here she is holding off her boat, keeping it from coming onto the dock, watching these big old heavy things float. And she says it wasn't scary, it was just, that's what was going on. And at that point, the water started to recede, and she held her boat off, kept it off the dock, and it went all the way down from being 3 feet high to again 4 feet low. And it happened again. This happened like 3 or 4 times, and until it finally, it started around 10, and it was about 11 to 11:30 is when it all finished up. And at that point, still the sirens are going off, and she's really the only one on the dock. All these other boats had left. And then these 2 boats over here, they came back thinking it was supposed to be over by 10. They came back at around 10:30 and saw what was going on. So they just kind of floated out there. And in fact, these guys, they had back out, which they said was ridiculous because everything was just swirling around so much, and that the waves were going up and down. And when they tried to leave the harbor, it was really bouncy. And about, I guess, 12:30, they came back in, things had settled down, and they were all able to dock. So we were pretty glad that we stayed out there. As I said, it was rough out there. We bounced around, but we just went up and down the island. Now, what was weird is this tsunami came from the north. Now, that is north. So it shouldn't have been a big problem at all. That since the harbor opening is really to the south. So you see that's pointing east, and then back around is where the harbor entrance is, to the south. So even though it was coming in from the north, since it was such a massive amount of water, it actually ended up coming in through the pass, and just this entire bay just raised up 4 feet. So, pretty exciting night. Glad we missed it. Glad to be back on the dock, nice and safe, and getting some rest. It's kind of the adventures of sailing life. But we can say now, we survived a tsunami. How to get back to just regular boat life, which there's nothing regular about it. But that's our little tale on the tsunami. That's something I hope to ever have to repeat.